When you advance science, you advance society. The American Association for the Advancement of Science is the leading voice for science professionals and advocates, supporting research, education, and outreach. Join us. Click the ad or visit AAAS.org.
You're listening to The Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
I get up to the podium and a guy in the back of the room yells out, "Hey, Namath, we're going to kick your you-know-what." And that just, it was just, no, wait a minute. I've been hearing that all week long. I got news for you, buddy. We're going to win the game, I guarantee it.
The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today. Joe Namath has been named the most valuable player of this game, and rightly so.
Indeed he was, the MVP of Super Bowl III, Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback, Joe Willie Namath, joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line. And, Joe, I can't thank you enough for the time. I get chills hearing that. When you hear that, Joe, I mean, what immediately comes to mind?
I'll tell you, buddy, I got it in my mind's eye. I can see the guy in the back of the room. I can feel that little bit of anger, After, for 10 days, we were told we were 18-point underdogs and we were going to get our butts kicked, man. Thank you. Thank you for playing that, because it's a wonderful moment, and we did it. We did it, Jake, and I know our fans back in New York to this day, we treasure that memory.
So, Joe, this all happened because randomly I was at a wedding in Canton, Ohio, of all places, over the weekend. I, of course, if I'm going to Canton, Joe, you know this, I got to go and check out the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm wearing my Joe Namath Broadway Joe T-shirt, and I take a picture in front of the Joe Namath display at the Hall of Fame, one of your signed jerseys from your playing days, and I posted it on my Instagram page. Your people reached out, asked if they could share it, and then I said, absolutely, but Joe's got to come on the show, and here we are making it happen.
Oh, boy, well, yes, and actually, it really are my people. John Monar, we're related, blood related. His family and I, they're from Canton, Massillon, Ohio originally, and we've been working together for several years.
Very cool. So, of course, Joe Willie Namath joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. So the reason why I'm a Jet fan, Joe, is because my dad grew up, I kid you not, idolizing you. And we actually got a chance to meet you about 8 years ago at a charity event on Long Island. And I've never seen my dad so excited. I mean, when you hear stuff like that there's an entire generation of people that, became Jet fans because of you, became football fans because of you, what does that mean?
It means it confirms that I've been blessed by the good Lord. I'm lucky, to be in that position to share it with so many people, to share that joy, but it's not all because of me. I've got enough sense to know that I'm the lucky one. Life works in strange ways sometimes, all the time, I guess. I'm not sure. But I just appreciate having had the opportunity because, life itself, it's similar to sports. It takes a lot of folks. It's a team effort. Whatever you're doing, you don't do much on your own. So I've learned that in sports, and I've learned to appreciate that and live kind of by that to this day.
Joe, at the time of the guarantee, we all know what ends up happening, and of course, the controversy it created, and now it's just a legendary story. But when the words, "we're going to win the game Sunday, I guarantee," came out of your mouth, did you realize at the time it was about to be one of the biggest things ever during that week of the game?
No, absolutely not. That was just the way I felt. I didn't even think about it in any other way when I sat back down. The first time it was brought to my attention was by our media director, Frank Ramos. Frank and I were at the dinner together. He was great. Frank He was a long-time media director for the Jets, but he took each and every player kind of like his son or, young guy, and he protected us. Well, on the drive back, once we got in the car, Frank, Joe, you know what you said there. Coach Eubank he's going to get a little upset about it. I said, what are you talking about, Frank? And Frank said, well, you told that guy, that we're going to win the game. You guaranteed it. And I said, oh, well, that's the way I felt. And that's the way I thought. I said it, I owned it, So, and Coach Eubank, I'll tell you, Jay, Coach Eubank was upset, yes. But it worked out. We had the team. The guys played beautifully that day on both sides of the ball, and Curley was punting, and, Turner, he hit 3 of them. So, we outplayed them, and Baltimore didn't have their best day, and that's tough luck. That's the way the game goes.
After the game, Joe, one of the more iconic shots in the history of sports, not even just the NFL, is you pointing with your arm in the air, running off the field in Miami after the win. What stands out to you about that moment? How did that happen? Did it just come to you naturally? Take us through that iconic shot of you running off the field with your arm raised.
Well, how you conduct yourself when you come out ahead or whatever was always taught when I was youngster. 3 older brothers. You never flaunted things, but you didn't beat your own chest. Celebrating was not the same thing. You see Roberto Clemente running the base pass or hitting a home run. He wasn't. You didn't express the feelings. You were kind of restricted to that. Winning a championship in high school was great. And we didn't. We celebrated a little bit as high schoolers. In college, putting your hand up like that would have been too much for Coach Bryant at Alabama. Actions speak actions. Well, that was an action that the Jet fans got me to do that. I'll tell you how. We're jogging off the field there, and before I had my head down, I looked up at the stands because people were yelling, and I saw all these smiling faces, man, and they were wearing green and white and that, and I just had that whole thing about the AFL and what they'd been through the league, and that was just like, I had to do, we were number one finally. The AFL, the New York Jets, we were number one finally, and that's what it was about. If I didn't see those people right there in the corner, right above the tunnel where I was headed, I don't know. I probably would not have raised that number one finger.
Joe Namath, of course, joining us here on the Jake Asman Show, the MVP of Super Bowl III, Pro Football Hall of Famer. Joe, since that day in Miami, the Jets haven't been back to the Super Bowl, and there's obviously, as you know this as well as anyone, there's been a lot of pain for us Jets fans. Like when you think back to just what's happened since, can you even fathom that it's been over 50 years since that historic Super Bowl day in Miami?
It's very difficult, Jake, to fathom that. It's a catch-22 in a sense. Time flies, man. I mean, it flies when things are going well. And you can't complain about looking back at 55 years ago, first getting to New York and how we built the team with Coach Eubank, and then winning it 50-plus years ago. I've been healthy. My family's been healthy. When things have been good, time flies. The only time that it drags, time drags when something's wrong. You don't like what you're doing, you don't like where you are, someone's sick at home, you're sick, or whatever, man. When things are off, that's when time's not flying. When things are going well, boy, it's like a blink, and it's like yesterday. I could feel it to this day. I remember it so well, but it's a little scary how quickly time can go by, but that means things have been good for you.
I'll say this, Joe. Coach Adam Gase is nothing close to Coach Weeb Eubank. I'll tell you that much.
Well, he's young yet, and Coach Eubank, He came from, Ohio, the place of coaches. Paul Brown, his mentor. Coaches learn from other coaches. The game's better than ever today. The athletes are better than ever today. And they learned from the guys that were before them. The players still have to execute on the field. A coach can get you ready in a lot of ways for the game. Players are responsible for getting ready themselves to a major degree. Different coaches go about their work in different ways, but ultimately it comes down to the execution on the field. And most of the time, most of the time I'm giving credit to the coaches for, preparation. They don't get fooled that much. These days, certainly, maybe yesteryear. But the Jets have had a tough time. And being such a fan myself of the Jets, I just have a tough time talking about them, but I'd like to say something positive, and I just know that they're trying hard. I know that Coach Gase is trying hard. The players, I hope, are still trying hard. It's frustrating. The fans, as you know, it's not fun to not have a good team, not just one season, but year in and year out. We haven't been to the playoffs very often since we got there the first time.
No doubt. Joe Namath, of course, talking to us here on the Progressive Guest Line of the Jake Asman Show. So there could be a big decision that this year's Jets team is going to have to make if they're sitting there with the first overall pick and Trevor Lawrence is coming out of Clemson and he's available. Do you have to consider taking him, Joe, or do you still believe Sam Darnold could be the next Joe Namath and be the guy to lead this team back to a Super Bowl?
Well, whoever's handling that ball, they need some help up front. You got to, if you don't have a defensive line and you're quarterback on offense, if you don't have your offensive line working on the same page and being able to handle those beasts that are coming after you. I mean, those defensive players, as I mentioned, they're better today than ever. They're so quick, fast, and strong, man. You got to get players in every position. So right now, we look at the roster of the Jets, and those guys can all play football pretty good. But whenever you look at the videos of the games, they're hurting themselves. They beat themselves, and they don't have as many top athletes as the teams that are winning do. So I don't know whether Sam's still going to be there. I do know that if the Jets are in that undesirable position at one time or another during the season of being in last place, but being in the most desirable position to have the first pick, I don't know what they're going to do. They could maybe get other draft choices. Do they still believe in Sam? I don't look at the video of the games, the replays, the way the coaches do, so they'll make that decision. It'd be hard to pass on Lawrence. I tell you, he's just a marvelous player and has been the last few years. Everything about him, his passing ability, his movement, his habit of winning, he's a monster. So whoever is going to have a chance to get him will probably take him. First of all, if it did end up being our guys, our team, Joe Douglas, who's there now, they'll make that decision because they could probably. There's a lot of teams. There's 31 other teams out there, and Sam Darnold can play for several of them. So he may be somewhere else starting if that scenario did unfold. If the Jets had that number one pick, they might do something with Sam to get another high draft choice or two or three. So I don't know.
He, of course, is the great Joe Namath, the MVP of Super Bowl III, Pro Football Hall of Famer. Joe, we got to run. We're up against it, but I want to let everyone know that your foundation, you can check it out, joenamath.org, and get involved. I know you're building some restaurants down in Florida, so hopefully when we're allowed to get out and about, I look forward to checking those out as well with my dad. I'm sure he'll certainly enjoy that.
Hey, man, you see your dad, you give him a big hug for me, all right? And I hope I get to meet him sometime. And if you ever are down this way, give me a heads up. Or if I'm up there and you know where I am, yell out, and we'll shake hands once again. I want to see your dad.
Joe, thanks for all the happiness. I can't thank you enough for making the time. And best of luck. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. And Jets, go! Go!
Broadway Joe Namath with us there on the Progressive Guest Lab. We'll come right back, wrap up the first hour of the show. What a spot with the legend, Joe Willie Namath.
Some call it insight. Others call it vision. At Pershing, we call it perspective. A perspective you'll benefit from a custodian you can rely on. One who can help navigate the big picture and whose products give you a competitive edge. One who considers everything. What will help you succeed today and tomorrow? Open yourself to a new perspective and open the possibilities. Consider everything. BNY Mellon Pershing. Learn more at Pershing.com/RIA. Pershing Advisor Solutions, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC.